Hi everyone, welcome to Mr. Shin's class. Today we're going to go over the substitution. Coming back to previous lessons, it's a revision. Right, here is quadratic equation. How would you solve this? There were many different ways to solve it, remember? Yep, the first method is by factorizing. What else? Yep, by completing the square. Anything else that you remember? Well done, through quadratic formula. Right, when do we use quadratic formula? When those a, b, c cannot be factorized in a nice number, or if the numbers are too big, and if it's too difficult to factorize it or complete it using completing the square, then you can try quadratic formula, or it's the easiest way because we just put it in the formula and find out the value of x, right? Okay. Remember, the quadratic formula is to find out the solution of x straight away. And there you go. This was the formula to follow. Basically, you're inserting ABC, those one into the formula to get the value of x. And if you would like to find out how many solutions there are, basically how many roots there are, right, we used this part to calculate and see how many roots there are, right? What do we call this part? We call it discriminant, and the symbol was the triangle. Okay, so we knew that when discriminant is greater than 0, positive value, yeah, then we knew that there are two real solutions. Yeah, where we get two real roots. Okay, when discriminant was equal to 0, we knew that it's touching once, having one real root. Okay, another mean, we can say we have two identical roots. Identical roots means two roots are equal, having one root, right? Okay, when discriminant is less than 0, if it's a negative value, we have no real roots. It's not touching the x-axis. We do not get the values. Alright, but this makes sense because discriminant being negative, if you have a look over here, okay, so if this value is negative, what happens if you square root a negative number? We get a math error, right? So it's math error, there is no x value, so therefore no root exists. So you see that in the x-axis, it's not touching anything, there is no x value, so therefore no real root. Okay, and lastly, when the discriminant is perfect square, it has to be always positive because perfect square is 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, la-di-da-da-da. Okay, that means, yes, I do have two real roots, however, it's going to be rational. So you have to write the word rational, okay? Whereas all the other ones over here are irrational real roots. Okay, now this is the end of revision from previous lessons. Okay, now let's move on to substitution. Okay, so number 1, this is the question. X plus 3 minus 2 square root x plus 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. I only have one real solution. Find the value of x. Okay, now let's have a look at it. This is too hard to solve it. Can we use substitution method to make it simpler? Okay, let's go back to easier algebra math. Right, if I have square root of a, and I'm going to let this x, what would be my a? Okay, so getting rid of that squared, what did I do? I have squared on each side, so therefore squared, square root is eliminated, so therefore I can say a is x to the power of 2, right? Then let's have a look at this one. Oh, I have the square root. Right, x plus 3 those two are the same thing. So I can think of x plus 3 as a, right? So this is square root a, and this is just a. Just like this, right? Then, since it's already in terms of x, so let's say this one, the whole thing, as p. Okay, then what should I say this one? If this is p, what will be that one? P squared, isn't it? Because square root of a, I let it x, the normal a will be x to the power squared. Okay, because if I let x square root a to be x, just normal a was the squared, right? So if I let this one p, that one will be p to the power of 2. Do you get this? So I substitute into p and made it into a simpler quadratic equation. Yep, so I wrote it down just in case I forgot. Right, now this is a simple quadratic equation, so let's have a go at finding out the answer. We can use factorization rule, completing the square, or quadratic formula to find out the answer. Let's try by factorizing because it's easy. Okay, if you forgot how to factorize, please go back and do the previous pages where we're doing factorization. Okay, and we learned how to solve these one. P will be -1 because if I put -1 there, it's going to be 0. 0 times whatever will be 0, right? Or P has to be 3 because if I put 3 there, it's going to turn into 0. 0 times whatever number, it will be 0. Right, am I finished? No. I found out the value of p's, not the x. So what I'm going to do, this is my p, so I'm going to substitute. Instead of p, I'm going to put -1 there. So there you go. So I just insert -1 into that p. I insert 3 into that p, and I'm going to find out the corresponding x value. Okay, if I start with this one, I need to get rid of that square root, so I'm going to square on each side. Yep, then square root disappears, and I square it. X will be -2. This one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to square each side. Okay, and send 3 to the other side, like this. But from the question it says, have only one real solution. But I've got 2 answers. Now I need to test it. Okay, please don't forget to test your answer. So how you test it is, you're going to put these 2 numbers back into the original equation. Okay, like this. So if I put -2 into the original equation, so what I have done is -2, -2, okay? There you go, -2, -2. If I calculate this, it should be equal to 0 according to the question. However, if you calculate this, you will get -4, which is not 0. So this is not a solution. So how you need to write the answer is like this. So when p equals to -1, my answer to that was x equals -2. When I substituted back into the equation, it wasn't 0. So therefore, when p and x is like these, they do not produce a solution. So it's not the answer. You have to write it down, and you have to show that you substituted and tested it. You did exactly the same thing with p equals 3. And you have to say those 2, when you calculate this one, yes, it is equal to 0. Like what it says in the question, equals to 0. So therefore, you have to answer the equation balances, 0 equals 0. So therefore, when x is equal to 6 and p is equal to 3, it is a solution. Okay, so if I sum up, if this is the equation, what is the first thing that you need to do? Okay, I'm going to substitute those values into another letter. It could be K, A, whatever. Okay, step 1, substitute to make the equation easy. Here you go, I made the equation simpler. Okay, and step 2, I'm going to find P value according to that. Okay, step 3, I'm going to substitute those values of P to calculate the original equation of X, where I let the P value into this one, like that. Okay, so step 3, find the X values. And step 4, if you got those X values, you need to test it. Okay, and write down the solutions. Okay, let's do some more practice. Right, I want you to substitute and make it into a simpler polynomial. Right, I'm going to change this one. So if I let this, should we let it what? A, X, oh, I have X, so K, right, P, any letter. I'll just stick to P. Okay, so let's see. If P is equal to square root X minus 8, what happens if I want to get rid of X, get rid of that square root? Because over here, I've got no square root, but the same thing inside, right? So in order to make this one like this, obviously I'm going to square both sides, right? So that and that cancels out, leaving just X minus 8, which is P squared. So I know X minus 8 is P squared. There you go. So if I rewrite the equation for this one, yeah, there you go. Okay, now you can do use quadratic formula, anything, up to you, to find out the value of P, and then substitute into back into this one and find out the value of X and test it, right? How about this one? How would you make it simpler? Okay, again, let's make this one P. Because somehow I just want to make it into 11P minus 12 and make this P squared. Should we test it whether P squared is this one? Okay, let's see. So I let 3x as P. Let's test it. What's P squared? Just do the algebra. I'm going to, powers of power, I'm going to multiply these two, right? Like this. Oh, what's 3 to the power of 2? Which is 9x. Oh, so that one is P squared, so I can replace this one as P squared. So now it's very simple. I can say P squared plus 11P minus 12 is equal to 0. There you go. Now I can again use quadratic formula to find P. Okay, substitute back again to this one to find out X value and so on. Okay, people, most important thing, don't forget to test your answers at the end because those two are the very important thing. Right, I hope you found the revision and this lesson useful, helpful. Now let's have a go at doing some more practice in your book. Okay, then I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.